It's Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for another video here at Phoenix Handhelds. And this week is the RGDS week, which we've already unboxed. So instead of an unboxing, I've got something special for you. I've decided to create my top 10 list of devices that have been the most nostalgic for me over the years as far as gaming goes. Now, I also have an honorable mention thrown in there somewhere during my video, but I want to apologize first and foremost. I wanted to have 30-second clips of 2 nostalgic games on each platform. I did. I sincerely did. But I didn't realize my screen recording stopped after 18 minutes, and I carried on for another hour and a half, making sure that I had games that I wanted for all 11 consoles. But the thing is, it was only 18 minutes, so I only ended up with my top 3. So I'll throw in some screenshots of some nostalgic games, but I still hope that you'll enjoy this. And, well, let's find out what number 10 is right after this. Hey fam, Swati Gคนคร Phoenix here. And first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Every view really humbles me, and thank you for taking time out of your day. That said, before we continue, I want you to pause this video and comment down below what are your 10 favorite gaming devices of all time, regardless of where they come from. Let's see if we match on any of them. Done? All right, let's continue. On to number 10. Now, number 10 was a bit of a tricky one for me because, well, I wanted to think about what it meant to me, and I ended up with the PSP. And the PSP because it allowed me to watch movies and be able to play games at the same time. As you can see, the UMD disc was actually a disc that Sony created both for games and for watching movies, which was pretty cool. And then they, of course, Sony loves their own proprietary stuff, so they also had their own memory card. That said, what they did here is they made it where we could play beautiful games. So my 2 games here for this that I love are God of War and Hot Shots Golf. I know that they seem kind of an odd mix, but they really work for me and always have, and that's what makes me feel nostalgia for the PSP. Now, number 9 is a device that I never personally owned, but I was in awe of my friends that did own it because I thought it was gorgeous, and it was a color screen that was ahead of its time, and that's the Sega Game Gear. Now, one of the things that really set this apart back then was Sega always had either 3-button or 6-button controllers, and this only had a 2-button controller, so that was quite interesting. But of course, par for its course back in the day, the Game Gear used a cartridge rather than a disc because this came out in the early 90s. And my most nostalgic games for this platform, of course, were Sonic because I was impressed that they could get such a fast-paced game on the go ready for this. And then, of course, I always loved the Echo the Dolphin game series, so I loved being able to see that, and one of my friends had this Echo game, and I really loved being able to play it on the go with him. And for number 8, I actually have my launch device that I received in Canada, and I also have a Japanese exclusive device. Now, this is nostalgic because this was during a hard time, and I needed it whenever I first moved to Canada because I was alone and I wasn't accustomed to being alone. So the PS Vita gave me comfort, and I thank Sony for creating it. Now, the Vita did have its own memory card and its own cartridges because Sony wanted to make sure it could load as fast as possible. So that's why we had cartridges back. And of course, for me, the Drake games were always awesome. So this was one game that I always had for my Vita, and I still do have my Golden Abyss game, followed by Little Deviants. Little Deviants is quite an interesting little game because it's kind of like a tech demo of the device itself, using the front touch panel, the back touch panel, and all the different sensors to make this game quite fun, actually. And well, number 7 is the first handheld that I had ever seen, which probably gives it away because I am quite old, of course, I understand. But it blew my mind that we could play games on the go. Now, granted, it wasn't in color, it had a green background with kind of a gray kind of letters and everything, but it still blew me away that we could play games on the go. Now, games of this era always were based on cartridge, so of course this was also based on a cartridge that you'd slot around the back. But again, quick, easy to change out games, and I just loved that. And what I loved to play on it was Tetris. Whether it was actually playing it myself or watching other people play Tetris, I have always loved that because, well, I'm not the best at it, but it's fun to see people that are really good at it. Followed by, of course, Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land, again, being able to play Mario on the go just blew my mind, and this was just such a nostalgic bomb. That said, number 6 holds a special place in my heart as well because my oldest sister's boyfriend in high school had this console, and that is the Genesis. and I loved being able to go over to his house and play games because, well, who didn't love to be able to escape the house and play video games at a friend's house, basically? And this, of course, came with a black cartridge that you could just slot in and out of the top, so it worked beautifully, never had any issues like the NES did in North America, for example. And our favorite game to play at his house was Mortal Kombat because we could enable the gore, and of course, early 90s, who didn't love to see enabled gore on digitized characters? Followed by my brother and now ex-stepbrother and I, all three of us used to love watching Beavis and Butthead, and we used to love renting this game and trying to beat it. That said, number 5 is a console that I honestly never owned. However, my best friend in my early childhood, Heath, and my other sister's boyfriend in high school, Charlie, both had this, and I have fond memories of playing it with both of them. They were great influences on me, as was this device, because it really stepped up the game for Nintendo. And it was another top-loading, toaster-style, cartridge-based console that, again, I just have a lot of nostalgia getting up and changing the games out. And with Heath, I would change out the game to play Mario Kart. Yes, the OG Mario Kart on Super Nintendo has a very fond place in my heart because of the time I had playing it with my friend Heath. And conversely, Charlie, I enjoyed playing the Madden football games with him because he and I enjoyed playing and watching football, so that would be our Sundays, playing and watching football. And for number 4, we have a console that I've played many, many hours with all of my siblings, and sometimes even with my parents, which was a rarity, and that's because it was the NES. Yes, Nintendo came out with the entertainment system, and I just couldn't help it. I remember playing a lot of games, a lot of Mario with my siblings. And of course, if you're not familiar, it did have a cartridge, but instead of loading through the top, this one loaded through the slot on the side, and it didn't always want to load the games. That said, for me, Tecmo Super Bowl was a very nostalgic game because my friend Steve and I would play this game all the time, and it was just a lot of fun always. And my sisters, probably the last game that they ever were excited about the release was Super Mario 3, so I have to include it here because I just remember their excitement for it coming out, and it still holds a special place in my heart. Now, time for the honorable mention before we get on to number 3. And this is nostalgic because I was one of the first people I knew that actually had one, and that's a actual in-house PC. And ours was a Tandy 1000, just like the one on the screen here, with the 3.5-inch floppy bay on the bottom and the 5.25-inch floppy bay up top. And if you're curious what those look like because they were before your time, the 3.5-inch floppy is on the right-hand side, and the 5.25-inch floppy was on the left-hand side. Now, this was a DOS-based computer, so to launch a game like Madden you're seeing on the screen right now, we had to go to A drive, so it would be A:\enter. Once that loaded, then we could type in Madden and load that. And my other game that I remember vividly playing was Wheel of Fortune, which again, we would load the A drive and then WOF, Wheel of Fortune, woof. And that's how I was able to play Wheel of Fortune as a child. And number 3 is a console that fills me with nostalgia because I remember my dad bringing it home with a box of different games. I believe he got it at a pawn shop, and that's the Atari 2600. Yes, it's also called the Atari VCS, and yes, your controller is only a joystick with one button, but it worked. And we had a cartridge that would go in that little slot, and we'd be able to play it. Now, I do remember playing Centipede, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to introduce you to 2 other games. The first is Missile Command, where you would try to shoot and make it where your missiles would stop the incoming missiles. And then the first video of this video is of Outlaw, the first game that I remember beating my brother on. Now, of course, as you can see, Outlaw was definitely designed to be a 2-player game. But don't worry, number 2 here is a great selection here for you because I have a lot of fond memories for getting this as a high school freshman. That's right, my first year of high school, I got the PlayStation as a gift from my father. And I thank you, Dad, for getting that for me. It enchanted me in ways that you don't even know. And if you're not familiar, the PS did not launch with dual analog sticks. It actually released with no analog sticks like the one on the screen right now. and the discs were black on the back, so you could easily differentiate your games from your music CDs without having to look at which one was which, because you could see the black and know that was a game versus a CD. And the two games that I want to be playing, of course, I'm sure you would guess one of them if you've watched any of my videos, Metal Gear Solid, and the other is going to be Hot Shots Golf, because I always loved the cartoony nature of Hot Shots Golf. So enjoy.
Nice shot. Nice on.
And then we get to the top spot, number one. And this is the first console or platform that I was able to purchase with my own money. And this is the PS2. Now, the PS2 was awesome because it could play DVDs. So this was my first DVD player ever. And it could play games. Now, games came in 3 different colors. You could have a blue-backed one like on the screen, and that would be the one that would be based on CD technology. Then they had a silver-backed one that was based on regular DVD technology. And then they had one with kind of a yellowish hue that was based on dual-layer technology. So again, you'd get more or less storage on the disc depending on that, for example. So it was really awesome that they gave that to us. Now, the games I'm going to be playing here, first is GTA 3, and I'm just going to be playing the beginning cutscene because I didn't want to get any guts and gore going on, so I figured maybe just the cutscenes because they are nostalgic in themselves to me, as well as, of course, the one and only Gran Turismo 4, because GT4 was amazing, and it still is. You could actually upscale it if you had an HD TV way back when on this with the component cables and get 1080i. Not 1080p, but 1080i out of a PS2 game. It was crazy voodoo that they were doing back then, and it was really awesome. So I hope you enjoy these 2 games. That said, fam, I want to first apologize again because, again, I had recorded a lot more content, or at least I thought I had, but I didn't realize the screen recording stopped after 18.5 minutes. So these are the only video clips that I was able to salvage out of it, and I apologize. I had wanted to make it much more immersive, a lot more better, but I hope that you still enjoyed getting an inside look on what I have found to be nostalgic over the years and what I still do. And that's what got me into this hobby to begin with, and then what made me create this channel. It's because I love these games, I love these memories, and they mean a lot to me in all ways, as do you. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord so you can qualify for subscriber giveaways, because I want to give away a gift to you next. That said, we do have 2 new members to the Discord server, so welcome, guys. I hope that we can encourage your love of retro games as well. And if you ever need me, I'm just a shout away. So until next time, swati tuk kong crap. This has been P. Nick.